Now Glen is in his late 70s and riding into the late 90s on the next space shuttle mission scheduled for October 29th. I spoke with Glen one-on-one a short while ago and asked him about talk that at 77, maybe he's too old for orbit.
That I would not be on this if the doctors at the National Institute of Aging and NASA weren't all in agreement. There's a lot to be learned in this particular area by sending an older person up. And that was the criteria when I first suggested this.
In exactly 2 weeks, John Glen is scheduled to become America's oldest man in space, the subject of experiments comparing the effects of weightlessness to the effects of aging.
Godspeed, John Glen.
This marks the return to the man who put the United States back in the space race in 1962 with 3 orbits of the Earth in the tiny Mercury capsule. What's the biggest difference between going into space today and when you did it in the early 60s?
Oh, I think the biggest difference is back in those days, we didn't know whether we could do this thing or not. And so we were trying to find out, you know, some doctors predicted your eyeballs would change shape. You wouldn't be able to see. Or your ears, the fluid in the inner ear would give you such vertigo and nausea you wouldn't be able to know what was going on. You'd just be out of it. Now here we are 120-some flights later, each flight having built on the last. And we're now out there on the cutting edge of science where on this one flight we'll have 83 different science research projects. It's exciting to see some of these things and what we may learn and the impact of it on medicine and on people's lives and you and me and our kids.
What does Glen think about future space exploration?
Did you expect to see a liftoff with humans headed for Mars?
In my lifetime, in the next, let's say I'm fortunate and go to, say, 15 to 20 years, say. Maybe in that length of time, possibly. But the people who think we ought to just establish a program now and spend whatever is necessary to get there, we do have other national concerns.
By the way, John Glen told me that should the president order NASA to go back to the moon with a manned spacecraft today, that he, Glen, thinks it might take 3 to 5 years to do that. And NASA is planning to put humans on Mars in what they hope will be the not-too-distant future. CBS will have that story for you later in this broadcast, and you can see much more of our John Glen interview during CBS live coverage of his planned return to space scheduled for lift